let's start. So, today's Wednesday. So on Monday we were talking about the balancing on the faculties of the effort, and therefore here we look into a number of things, number of ways that how we can able to keep the mind in the momentum, keep the mind in the optimum state, that it can able to keep on noting. That while we are noting all these objects, we also being aware of how the mind fluctuates, especially if we are talking about the effort. We know that how the effort fluctuates. Sometimes it goes slightly more, sometimes it goes slightly less, and then we know the signs are coming in. We know the conditions are coming in already. Then we change, or we change the way, or we increase the effort, or we decrease the effort in order to keep the mind in the optimum level. So here, this nature of the fluctuation of these faculties will always be happening while we are meditating, especially when we are in a long retreat. Okay, that's about those on the faculty of effort. Now let's look into the faculty of concentration. Look into the faculty of concentration. Now, in the concentration, I've spoken about concentration not too long ago, when we begin with the Noble Eightfold Path and on the right concentration. That part when we talk about the right concentration. That one, when we begin on that Noble Eightfold Path, I gave a general overview on what are the Noble Eightfold Paths, and of course, it contains the right concentration, and I go through a number of things. But when it comes to the faculty part, and then that is where the practicality, the understanding of how to apply the concentration together with the effort, and how we balance those things together with the mindfulness. So all these things in order to balance this concentration. So it is important for us to understand this concentration in a more clearer manner, and also in its dynamic manner. We're going to see. We're going to see. Because this concentration is not a stationary thing. This is very dynamic, especially when we are in the meditation. Okay? Now let us show you some, this one. Should we do the screen sharing? Okay. All right. Can you see the faculty of concentration, right? Okay, good. Now here again, we begin with this understanding of faculty and power. And we are coming into the fifth faculty here. This is the faculty of concentration. Although it is not in the order of faith, effort, mindfulness, concentration, wisdom, but due to the nature of their grouping, so I talk it in a way of effort and concentration, and those who didn't come in for the Dhamma talk earlier on, then also we talk about the faith and the wisdom as a group. Now, here, just to remind us between the difference between a faculty and a power. an indriya, and a bala. The indriya here means that it do the functioning. It's functioning in the sense of kind of like they are doing what they are supposed to do. The nature of faith is the nature of to push you forward to resolute your mind, to make your mind resolute in order that you can go further. Effort is to support, to exert the mind so that all this mindfulness, faith, concentration, wisdom, they don't disappear. Mindfulness here, it means that as a faculty, it keeps the mind going keep the mind in the present moment as long as it can. This is continuous presentness, and this is important. Not just any form of mindfulness, not sporadic mindfulness here and there, but this is continuous mindfulness. Then when it comes into wisdom, which we talk about it, here the wisdom is the penetrating aspect of when you are observing your object. Now, as a power, that means it can able to oppose, it can able to be unshaken by the opposites. The opposite of faith is this skeptical doubt or indecisiveness. So here when it becomes as a power, this type of skeptical doubt, indecisiveness don't come in. That means the mind is not foggy, the mind is clear. When the effort is there, then the laziness doesn't come in. Or the sloth and torpor don't come in. When the mindfulness is strong, is continuous, at the same time, then the negligence or heedlessness, that means you're not able to do into something unwholesome through speech or through action or through thoughts. And there is a continuous mindfulness. And then when there's delusion, when there's wisdom, then this delusion cannot come in. The delusion here, it comes in, especially if you're a yogi, it's just not knowing. It's between whether you are thorough in your noticing or you're not thorough in the noticing. You are just notice it superficially. That means the delusion is there. It's hard to see this delusion. It's the mother of all defilements. So faculty and power, they all go together. They all go together in a sense like a car. The day, as I said, it's just like a car. When you drive, your steering wheel, your engine, your wheel, your wheels, all these are like carrying the car forward. But at the same time, your windows and all the body of the car, those are protecting you from external elements, from whatnot. So it's the same. So they are moving together, this faculty and power. Then because of this effort, faith, mindfulness, concentration, wisdom, they are also fluctuating. They fluctuate as we meditate. So too, the faculty also fluctuate. Also, the power also fluctuate. Together, they all go on as it all depending on how strong have the faith, effort, and so on. So when the time is strong and is in the optimum level, then yes, it's good. When it's not so strong, then it drops. And the faculty also drop, power also drop. Now, when it comes to concentration is non-distraction. Holding on together, uniting it together, so that it unshaken by any form of agitation of the mind. Agitation here means the restlessness, the thinking, external coming from the senses, all the sound or sight. You are not distracted by those things. The mind is onto the object of meditation. Now, let's look into faculty of concentration. Now, the faculty of concentration, or the word concentration here, it is synonymous with the one-pointedness of mind or non-distraction. One-pointedness is, the Pali word is chitta, chitta ekagata. Chitta ekagata. But then if because of Pali, then this A and E, they combine together, so it become like chitte ekagata. You will find this word, you will find this chitta ekagata more in the Abhidhamma, although in the sutta also is mentioned, but they are similarly with the word concentration. But then this one-pointedness of mind, we got to be careful, because we must not see when it comes to meditation, especially vipassana, we must not see it as a static thing. You must see it as a very dynamic thing. A lot of times when we have this one-pointedness of mind or concentration, a lot of time people thought that, okay, the mind concentrated into one object, and that's it. But they forgot about the dynamicness of the mind, especially in the vipassana. It moves from an object to another object. So, although it moves from one object to another object, that is also one-pointedness of mind. That one also we'll look into it a little bit more. Or sometimes they call it the non-distraction. Sometimes the word concentration also, on a certain time, it can also be like they translate as peace, or they translate it as tranquil or calm also. So it all depends on the translator. And even some teachers or some people that I heard their Dhamma talk, they don't even like to use the word concentration, because they find that the word concentration makes the mind goes very tight and very cramped, and you're not able to open and so on. So that is their way of understanding. But nevertheless, we use the word concentration, but we need to explain it a little bit more, so that we don't think of it as just being focused into a very tiny little area. No. Now, in the Visuddhimagga, and this is the third chapter, paragraph number 3. That's why it's called Visuddhimagga 3.3. So what is concentration? The word is, it is centering of consciousness and mental factors evenly and rightly on a single object. Placing is what it is meant. The word evenly, if you next time you see the word sama in Malay word also is the same like even. Then sama, this is sometimes you use it as the right concentration, right this and so on. Here we are looking at this concentration. We are looking at the wholesome part of the concentration. So it is in the state of virtue of which consciousness and its mental factors remain evenly and rightly on a single object, undistracted, unscattered. That should be understood as concentration. Remains evenly and rightly on a single object. Okay. Again, here, the word single object, you must think of it as something dynamic, not something as a static. Now, when we use the word concentration, when you do it in the Abhidhamma sense, Abhidhamma sense posits that concentration, they are universal. universal mental factors or universal cetasika. Universal in the sense that it can be wholesome, unwholesome, it can be connected to also with the supramundane, it can connect it with the jhana, arupa jhana, it can rupa jhana, all this connected with concentration. So concentration here, it will depends on the mental factors. If the mental factors are wholesome mental factors, then this concentration become a wholesome concentration or a right concentration, samma samadhi in that sense. But if the concentration is connected with something unwholesome, then the mind also become unwholesome. The concentration therefore become unwholesome. When you want to kill something, you want to kill someone, you want to lie, you have to concentrate on your words also. The word has to be concentrated. You want to kill somebody, you want to aim and then you shoot this fella with a gun. Then there's a concentration. Your mind must not be able to get distracted. So the nature of concentration, it's like that. So here, but when we are looking at this faculty of concentration, then it has to be wholesome. Not only just everyday concentration, but a faculty of concentration is a strong, continuous form of concentration. Whether it is going to be samatha or vipassana, when it comes as a faculty. Okay? So it's a deeper form, not the everyday type of concentration. Even the Abhidhamma posits that even you're sleeping also, there's also concentration. very little kind of concentration. Very minor part of concentration. Okay. Now, what is concentration then? Let's look into its nature. The characteristic of a concentration, it's called non-distraction or non-wandering. Just like just now we thought, avikepa, non-distraction or non-wandering. The function of this concentration, no matter whether it's wholesome or unwholesome, their nature is to unite together or hold together the associated mental states. That means while you are meditating, while you are paying attention to all your objects, let's say together these five, let's say all these five objects, got a faith, effort, mindfulness, concentration, wisdom. Now, the nature of concentration is to unite them together so that they function on that particular object at that particular moment. Function on that object. It holds them together so that the mind is not distracted into other object, into other unnecessary object, which could be the hearing or the seeing or all kinds of nonsense that's coming in from the thinking. So here the concentration holds all these faculties together. If you are talking about faculties, then all these five, they are holding together. They stick together because the nature of concentration. But in reality, it's more than just this five thing. When you're actually noting, there's also vitaka, vichara, also are connected together. There are also the last week we talked about the six pairs. They also are all come together as to work together. So it's more than just these five. But since we are talking about just these five, then we talk about concentration coming together. So the noting mind is much more complicated. There are a lot of other mental factors are performing its role because the nature of concentration hold them together. So, all right. So it unite or hold them together. And usually I like to use the simile of like when there's a bunch of sticks, you use a rope to tie them all together. But when you talk about the faculties, sometimes we tie too tightly. Then that time we are got to adjust it a little bit. Sometimes tie it too loosely. Then also we need to adjust it a little bit. That will come under faculty, and later part we'll look into the balancing of it. But the nature of it is to hold them together. Is to hold the associated mental states together. Okay? Now, when it holds them together, when it becomes strong and it's optimum and it's clear, then it will come out as peace. Peace. Now, the word peace, it can be a word that sometimes we can misconstrue also. Usually, when the word peace at its optimum level, when you're meditating, now, when you are doing Somata meditation, this is when your concentration is at its optimum level, then you actually feel the peace. You actually feel the peace. Or the peace that is mostly defined by you, or mostly defined by a lot of people. But there's a part of the peace, especially when it comes with vipassana, we don't connect with peace, Okay. Now let's talk about the samatha type of peace in the sense as concentration. So in the sense of concentration, when your mind is going, it's clear, it's not distracted, it's one with the object, then it is peaceful. And you find that your mind is there, there's no thinking, there's no hearing, there's no this one, all this, and you feel peaceful. Upasama. Okay? Now, on the other hand, on the vipassana part of it, the peace is not how people define it. Because the word, when it's concentration, noticing on the object, and especially, let's say, this time is a painful object that you are noticing. You watch the painful object, and then let's say it's a tightening in the buttock there. Tightening, tighten. Yet the mind can able to notice what is going on. The mind can able to notice or to perceive the dukkha aspect of it. The mind can able to notice perhaps also it getting stronger, it getting weaker, it getting more, it getting less. And yet the mind at the same time, it doesn't get distracted into all kinds of thinking here and there. Right? But can you say this is peaceful? But it is peaceful in a sense. Because the mind is not distracted to all kinds of other things. But we don't see it as peaceful because in front of us it's so painful. Mana da peaceful, Here pain, there pain. Where got peaceful, Bhante? Mana, where? But it's exactly because it is not wandering. But we don't define that thing as concentration. We don't see it as this one. All right. You see, the word peace, especially as I said, in the vipassana sense, a lot of people don't see it as peace. Even the yogi themselves don't see it as peace because of the nature of vipassana itself. Because we see impermanence, we see dukkha, we see anatta. This type of anicca, the perception of anicca, dukkha, anatta, is changing your wrong perception. And then therefore you don't find much peace there. You find that there's a struggle. The mind is struggling to change from wrong perception into a right perception. And then when the struggle is there, we don't see the peace. But actually it is peaceful because the mind is not distracted. The mind is not distracted into thoughts. The mind is distracted into hearing, into the sound and so on. But when the pain becomes stronger and then you cannot tahan anymore, when your mind is struggle, that one is not peaceful because that time your unity of the concentration, unity of that noting mind, Oh, sit. And then, oh, what time already? How come it's not ringing yet? Well, when is the bell is going to ring? That means your mind is not peaceful anymore. Mind is distracted already. Yeah. So it's hard for us to see in the vipassana the nature of peace. Yeah? But of course, this nature of peace, as it goes deeper into it, then you will see sometimes the peace also can be very strong. I mean, that pain can be very strong, and yet the mind is not distracted. The mind can stay with the pain. But there will be time, but actual peace, there will be times the type of peace that you define, normally that you define, also actually will come into vipassana too. Yeah? But a lot of time we just want that type of peace only, that very smooth, nice, pleasant, calm type of peace. And when we are noticing those things, we don't see it as peace. Huh? All right. The proximate cause here. The proximate cause here means you need happiness or you need the bliss. Somehow or another, this concentration, it needs the body and the mind to be having certain pleasant feelings. Having certain pleasant feelings. Here, the pleasant feelings when it comes to samatha, samatha, you see, you have to sit properly. You adjust your body in a comfortable position. That means it gives you a pleasant feeling for the body. It gives you the pleasant feelings of the body. Then also, when you are meditating, then the teacher says, okay, you forget about all your worries, you let go of all your worries, put them all aside and everything. Just keep your mind just keep your mindfulness in front of you. Follow the in breath, out breath. Then if you're able to put all your thoughts aside, and then you can able to notice what is going on with the breath, then that becomes a pleasant, in the sense of pleasant, opposed to all kinds of other thoughts that is behind. So all these things, you put it away. So you need that type of comfort of the mind and comfort of the body, certain degree. Now, here when it comes into vipassana again, then now again so painful. Where I got happiness, where I got peace right now again. It's still the same thing. Now here, the body, it's in pain. The unpleasant feeling is there. Okay, unpleasant feelings is in the body. But the mind is not distracted. The mind is still comfortable noticing the pain. Comfortable in noticing the pain. That's why you can able to note the pain for a longer period of time without getting distracted into it. If your mind is later part, when the anger comes in, I cannot take it anymore. What's the time right now? That means the happiness, mental happiness already gone now. Yeah? And then the unpleasant part of the happiness, the unpleasant feelings of the mind is already there because of the anger. Okay? So while you're still able to meditate, to notice even the difficult object, the mind is still in the sense of it's blissful and is still in the sense of it's comfortable. Yeah? And this one, the proximate cause here, or the happiness, the bliss, that one you can expand it even more into one or two talks or so. Because this one, maybe later I'll talk about it a little bit more. Yeah? Not this talk yet, maybe a few more talks down the road. And it's important actually. It is important. Later we'll talk about it. Okay, so the nature is to function here is to hold them together. So when they hold them together, they are not distracted or not wander off into other objects and so on. Yeah. Now let us go into a little bit more on the nature of this concentration. Now here, when we are talking about the right concentration, what day is today? Today is 11 of August already. The concentration where we are talking about, that's somewhere I think in the beginning of April. Somewhere in the beginning of April. I think most of your memory are all lubang one, all out already. All got holes on so all out already. So I think we just go through a little bit more, a little bit here. Okay, Samatha meditation. Normally we are more in tune with the Samatha meditation rather than the Vipassana meditation type of concentration. And normally we talk about momentary concentration only. But let's talk about Samatha first. Now in Samatha meditation, there are 3 types of meditation. And it depends on the level that you are going through. Okay? Number 1 is what we call a preliminary concentration. Parikamma Samadhi. Then after that we have access concentration, Upachara Samadhi. Then we have absorption, or sometimes they translate as fixed concentration, or Appana Samadhi. Access, sometimes now they use the word neighborhood. Neighborhood concentration, because this one neighborhood, because it is near to what? Near to absorption. Or access concentration. Access to what? Access like a road, to concentration. In those days, when I begin to listen to Dhamma talk, when they talk about access concentration, then I say, what do you mean by access? How come it's always too much concentration? Too much concentration. Because when you hear the word access, we thought that it's EXCESS, that one is too much, more, a lot. Here, access means access road, like a road that is go into your land or go to your farm or go to your house, and access road, a way, and let's go into it. So those days, so here access means to go to the absorption, but it's not at the absorption yet. So you have access concentration, then you have Appana Samadhi, and so on. Okay. Then again, in Vipassana meditation, we have preliminary concentration, we have momentary concentration, then we have absorption or fixed concentration. Now here, when it comes to the absorption concentration, that will be the path and fruition knowledge already, or path and fruition consciousness already. That is where, when you attain the first path, or subsequently when you want to re-enter into it. Okay, here the preliminary concentration, access concentration, and absorption concentration. Now let me stop the sharing for a while, and then I go to another where is the other one? Okay, we go to the right concentration. Okay, then we share again. Okay. All right. Can you see here, Samatha concentration again? Okay, all right. Now here, when we have Samatha concentration, here, preliminary concentration, it is when you begin to start your meditation. Let's say you are doing Anapana meditation. So before you can able to get a very good object in the Anapana, you can stay with the in-breath, out-breath. Then initially there will be a lot of thinking coming in, a lot of hindrances like sleepiness and so on. All those things will be coming in. to sort of like disturb you on your meditation. And then after that, we have, as you practice and things gets better, then this is where you have, when your nimitta starts to become much more clearer. Or even not even nimitta, but your in-breath, out-breath, it becomes much more clearer. Then the hindrances is getting less. The hindrances is getting less. And then as you practice further, then there will be like a mental image of the in-breath, out-breath. That means it's the mind-created object, mind-created concept, or usually we call it nimitta. It's a mind-created. Then with that mind-created concept, or that nimitta, then here when you can able to hold on it to that time, the hindrances also getting less and less and less. Okay? Getting less, less and less. Now here until it goes up to what we call a Gotrabu consciousness. Gotrabu here means change of lineage. Change of lineage, that means before you enter into jhana, before you enter into absorption. So absorption here is this. Oh yes, I written this a little bit. In the object, in the Somata object, preliminary sign, that means the preliminary object, that means your in-breath, out-breath. That means you hold on to it, you cannot, there's a lot of concentrate, there are a lot of, hindrances coming in. And then after that, you're getting better and better. And then here it's where you begin to follow the in-breath, out-breath very clearly. You can follow the in-breath. That's where they call the learning sign coming in. Then after that, the counterpart sign. Counterpart sign is the created part of the concept. So here, the excess concentration is somewhere in the learning and the counterpart sign, counterpart object, or here is called nimitta. We don't want to go into it too deep over here. We don't want to go into this too deep. Because later part, when we talk about balancing of the faculties, it also in the samatha part, you also have to balance it properly too. Don't think that samatha will just push on it and then that's it. No. During the preliminary concentration, then the beginning of meditation, there's not much of balancing that you can, because after all the faculties are still very weak. Then it's only when it comes into the excess concentration, then you need to balance it in the samatha also. Absorption concentration, you don't have to worry about it. And there's no need to balance anything because everything will balance in that way. But during the excess concentration, that is where it fluctuates. That too, we're going to look into it also. Okay. Now, we go into the Vipassana. Okay, we go into Vipassana. Now let's back to this document. Okay, we share again. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, in the Vipassana meditation, again you have preliminary concentration, you have momentary concentration as Khanika Samadhi, then you have absorption concentration. Here, absorption concentration is a kind of fixed concentration because you don't see momentariness of things anymore. Here, it's where the path and fruition, and actually it's Nibbana too, Path, fruition, and Nibbana. Because the path and fruition is the consciousness, Nibbana is the element or the object here. All right. It's a fixed concentration. If you go into like Abhidhamma again, here is going to divide further into how many consciousness? 4 consciousness or 20 consciousness here. Because It depends on how you enter. That one we don't go into it now. That one, if you're interested in Abhidhamma, then you can go into it. But if not, it doesn't matter. What is the matter is that we reach the path fruition, Nibbana, whichever way can reach, then that will be good. So we don't worry about those things. Okay, for Vipassana meditation. Now we're going to explain a little bit, we're going to explore a little bit on the Vipassana meditation. All right. You see, momentary concentration. Let's talk about the momentary concentration in terms of a non-enlightened person. That means a lot of you. Still mundane, still belum sampai, I'm not there yet. Then we're going to look into this as a momentary concentration. Now, in the Vipassana, before we look into it, there's a part here we call the preliminary concentration. This preliminary concentration is where you begin to meditate. When you go for your once a week meditation class. Oh, very good. Then you're still starting meditating, learning how to do a bit of walking, learning how to do a little bit of sitting. So all these things is in the preliminary concentration. Preliminary concentration at this level here, it all depends on the yogi, the person, So there are some people, the preliminary concentration in a very short while, and then they go into momentary concentration already. But for some people, the preliminary concentration is like years. They thought that meditation is just meditating, just a little bit here, every day, a little bit, better than nothing. I always will be in the preliminary concentration. Yeah. So what we want is that we want to bring you to the next momentary concentration. This is where, in the momentary concentration, it's where your faculty is working. You need to work upon it. Yeah? Even in the earlier part of it, I may talk about the momentary concentration. It is where the faculty is working, not at the preliminary concentration, not in your everyday type of concentration. This is actually when you are meditating in the long retreats and so on. Now, let's just go back here. Now, in the momentary concentration, here is mentioned that here I put it as mundane and non-enlightened. Okay, so for us, because I want to put it this in terms of insight, in terms of insight, and you can find all these things, the basic, intermediate, advanced type of momentary concentration. You can find it in the Mahasi Sayadaw's book called the Manual of Insight. The Manual of Insight. So you have basic momentary concentration, you have intermediate momentary concentration, you have advanced momentary concentration. Okay? Now, in the basic momentary concentration, this is where you begin from your first insight to the third insight. The first insight that you begin to able to notice there's a Dhamma, which is the mentality, and there is a physicality. Almost at the same time, That means the mind can able to differentiate these two things out, quite clearly. In the beginning part, when we are meditating in the preliminary level, we just notice rising, falling, rising, falling. Once in a while, we notice thinking, planning. That one hasn't come into the first insight because you haven't seen both come together. But if your momentum starts to pick up, your concentration starts to pick up, mindfulness starts to pick up, then this is where you're able to notice the differentiating what is mentality and what is physicality, almost at the same time. Sometimes they notice, like say for example, the rising and falling. While they are noticing the rising and falling, they notice the mind is watching the rising and falling. Interesting. Before that, I could not see those things. Now I could see the mind that's noticing the rising and falling. Wonderful, good. Or sometimes they are doing walking, right? Lifting, pushing, dropping. As I can see, the mind is watching it. I can notice the mind that is noticing the lifting, pushing, dropping. Then the lifting, pushing, dropping is the physicality of it. So this is what is happening. Okay? All right. During in the first to third insight knowledge, this is where you're going to have a lot of struggling. A lot of struggle in the sense of there's a lot of pain, a lot of unpleasantness, a lot of difficulty. We're not going to go through the insight knowledge because we talk about it in the third noble truth. You want to go back to understand what is all this insight, I talk about it in the third noble truth. Or you take up Mahasi Sayadaw's book, sometimes there's a mention about all these different level of insight. Intermediate momentary concentration, that means you are getting much more better than previously. And this time, you are beginning to notice the arising and passing away. You begin to notice the arising and passing away of phenomena. Here, the arising and passing away is that you must visualize it as something that is very dynamic, very changing very fast. As if like for example, when we look at a fluorescent lamp, for example, we look into it, fluorescent lamp, when you turn it on, it's just light turning, a strip of light. But when we look at it, examine it in the microscope, then we see that all this light is just rise, pass, come, go in a very fast manner. Then we begin to realize that it's all this arising and passing away. So too the same thing when we come into the meditation itself. When we look at this body right now, we touch this body, what arising, what passing away? It's there. It's there only. What arising, what passing away. We don't see all these things because we don't see it because our momentary concentration, our wisdom factor, mindfulness, all this is not well developed. So when it's well developed, we actually can able to notice it arising and passing away. So it's that the fourth insight knowledge is where the turning is coming in, intermediate. The advanced momentary concentration. This is again from the fifth insight knowledge, the knowledge of dissolution, when you begin to see everything going, disappearing, and so on. Here, the fifth to the 13th insight knowledge, the fifth to 13th insight knowledge, you can generally put them as anicca, dukkha, anatta, where you actually seeing it, where you're actually noticing it, the arising and passing away, showing you as anicca, dukkha, or anatta, or coming all together, also can. You must not think of this anicca, dukkha, anatta as something that you can see every day in your daily life. Not to say that you are wrong. You say that, okay, now the weather is changing, this is anicca, impermanence. Not to say that you are wrong. You are right also in that own way. That way, we're not able to get you into enlightenment. But this one, when you're actually noticing the arising and passing away of the mind and the bodily formation, bodily process, mental formation, all these things, when you notice it, can bring you out of samsara. So that is a big difference. There's a big difference here. So, Gotrabu, until Gotrabu, that means it's just before enlightenment take place. So there's momentary concentration, there's a basic, there's an intermediate, there's advanced. Okay, then we have the third one, absorption, as you go into the path, fruition, and nibbana. Again, this one, I talk about it quite a lot in the Third Noble Truth. Again, how the process of, when at that time I talk about it, just before you enter into nibbana, what are the state of mind or what are the consciousnesses passing through? And while it is in nibbana, what happened during that time? And after that, you emerge from that nibbana. What happened after that? It's quite interesting. If you want, I think somewhere in the Facebook there, you can go and scroll it, and then you may find it somewhere in the Third Noble Truth. Because Third Noble Truth, we're talking about enlightenment. So we talk about that time. We talk about it, how, before, during, and after. Now, let us go into a little bit of momentary concentration, because a lot of times we may not understand what is momentary concentration or moment-to-moment concentration. Okay? When you say momentary concentration, actually, mindfulness also is momentary mindfulness. Actually, wisdom also is momentary wisdom. You talk about effort, it's also a momentary effort, because everything is just arising and passing away, moment to moment. So they want to use the word momentary in the sense that they want to differentiate it with the Somata practice, because in the Somata practice, we don't see the momentariness of it. We don't see arising and passing away. It's only when we see the mind, the mind is only peaceful, nice. Right? It's only like that. We don't see the momentariness of it. But in the Vipassana, we see the momentariness, the arising, passing, come, go, come, go, come, go, come, go, come, go. So too, the mindfulness and actually the whole noting mind is arise, pass away, arise, pass away, arise, pass away. It's not just momentary concentration only. Everything else is also momentary. Okay? Okay. Now here, again, you see, Samatha meditation and Vipassana meditation, as if like they are very parallel. So the excess concentration and neighborhood concentration and momentary concentration, they are the same level, They are the same level. Sometimes there are people, I have heard now, hey, y'all don't practice momentary concentration. Momentary concentration, no strength one. You all must practice the excess concentration, upachara samadhi, not the kanika samadhi. I think that a lot of them have no idea what is this upachara and kanika and so on. Anyway, we didn't go into all those things. Too much to talk. Anyway, we want to know what is kanika samadhi. It's important for us to know at least what is kanika samadhi before we can talk about its balancing. Now, in the commentary to the Visuddhimagga, in the explanation of the chapter relating to the mindfulness of breathing, it is said thus: momentary unification of mind. Momentary unification of mind means the concentration of mind lasting only for a moment. For that type of concentration too, when it occurs uninterruptedly with its respective object in a single mode and is not overcome by this opposition, fixes the mind immovably as if in absorption, All right? So, here momentariness, when you look at it theoretically, when your mind is attending to the rising of falling of the abdomen, then here the mind is lasting for a moment. When it goes to the falling, it's another concentration, it's a new concentration already. Okay? Generally, we look at it like that. Now, for that type of concentration, when it occurs uninterruptedly, that means there's a continuity, there's a continuity because of the mindfulness is continuous so that the concentration also is continuous with its respective object in a single mode. The word single mode, it means that object that when you move from one object to another object, that means from rising or from falling, you go to rising, rising, you go to falling again, falling, you go to rising again, rising, falling again. That means when you move from one object to another object, it stays the same strength, the same momentum. Okay? It stays the same momentum, the same strength. That means even that moment that all concentration has disappeared, then it goes to the new object. That concentration is the same strength as the previous one just before it. And again, it moves to the next one, and 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 everything. That's why you can notice your rising, falling for a continuous period of time without getting interrupted by opposition. Opposition, it means that here the momentary concentration acts as a power, as a bala, that is not overcome by its opposition. That means it's not overcome by mentally get distracted and so on. So it fixed the mind immovably as if in absorption. As if in absorption. When we say as if in absorption, later part in the, as you develop into all the insights and so on, you will also notice that while you are noticing this anicca, dukkha, anatta thing arising and passing away, you begin to understand that sometimes the vitakka, vichara, and joy and rapture starts to disappear. Those things starts to disappear, and as if like you can able to meditate going on. That one last time I talked about it also too much. We don't go into it too much. But just what I want to know that sometimes it's hard for us to notice this momentariness of the concentration. Now, just give you a simple example. Let's say, for example, if you take again your rising and falling, or the in-breath, out-breath. Okay, take in-breath, out-breath. Now you say you take in-breath, out-breath and you do it in a vipassana way. Then this time, when you do it in a vipassana way, then when you pay attention to the whole in-breath, then that means this time, the concentration is there, holding on to all the other factors of the mind, other mental factors, like mindfulness and so on, so that it can function on that particular in-breath. Okay? Then when the out-breath takes place, then the whole all faculties begin to disappear. Then the new one of the out-breath, then a new faculties are going together with the out-breath. Okay? We don't see change. We don't see the mind change. Usually, mostly in the beginning part, we don't see the mind change. But it's already happening. But when you go into the deeper aspect of meditation, as you go into deeper aspect of meditation, then the momentariness, it's so much faster that you notice anything that arises and passes away. At the same time, you notice the mind also arises and passes away together with the bodily object. Then the next one, within less than a second, another thing that is already arisen, the mind also arises together with it, and you can see that the mind also disappear. Then the body also disappear together, moment to moment. At that time, you can see that the whole mindfulness gone, the whole effort gone, and then the new effort come in, mindfulness come in, wisdom come in, then it gone, then the next one come in, gone, come, gone, come, gone, come, go, and then the time only you really realize about the momentariness of this concentration. It's going to take you a while before you actually see this momentary concentration, although it's already happening when you're meditating. So we look into it, this momentary concentration. And then when it comes to the next one, it is where understanding this momentary concentration, how it works, then we could be able to have ways to balance this concentration. So I think that will be on the next talk. That means on the Monday next week. So on Friday, so again, here you can send in your questions, and then we will try to answer it on Friday. Okay?